on every single AD carry he plays. I don't know if a heal bit him when he was younger or something, but he's always bringing that summoner spell.
Yeah, a little bit of a curious choice. Says he likes to duel with it as well. So we see the first bans coming out of the gate already. A lot of really hotly contested stuff. Rengar's been taken off the board. That was kind of expected. Gnar, a very obvious ban, and I think Vayne is probably a good one as well.
Yeah, we are playing on patch 419, and Azir is disabled. And if you guys watched Worlds, that was on patch 414. So a lot of patches have happened since then. There's been a Cassiopeia rework. Gnar has gotten those quality of life buffs. A lot of changes. Tristana took some nerfs to scaling. So we're going to see very different picks coming out. And Zilean, this is the patch that he had his experience reduced from global to just a small range. So he was on his way out anyway, so I don't think we're going to see any of that. But these bans that we're seeing are definitely making a lot of sense here. The Vayne targeted prototype. He has 1,433 games of Vayne. His next most played is Jinx with 500, but then after that, it's Caitlyn at 150 in solo queue. So this guy plays a ton of solo queue, but his third most played, his Caitlyn, is 1/10 as played as his most played. It's ridiculous how much this guy loves Vayne.
He really does not have a whole lot in the tank besides that. It's a good reason why they want to do that, of course. Also taking Twisted Fate away from Gate 2. It's been one of his more played champions. We see already locking in the first choice, Lee Sin, very hotly contested jungler, pretty much for a long time, and that should go over to Mimo for sure. Look at this guy. He does, generally speaking, a lot of early action, so we'll expect him to maybe make some use of that very quickly.
Yeah, and a big thing here is they banned out the Rengar, which is one of Mimo's most played champions. This guy loves to level 1. He likes to invade and have those very aggressive junglers. And Shorter Ace, this guy makes Lee Sin highlights all the time. He's actually called the Wonder Kid of Washington because he was originally on... he's been on Cognitive. He was in the high school Star League.
Season 1, right?
Season 1, and made it all the way to the finals with his team. Really big proponent of that. So him not having Lee Sin or Rengar is going to be a big boon for Zenith eSports.
Yep, of course, over on the side of Zenith, picking that Sivir up has been a very hotly contested AD carry in the later stages of this 419 patch. So it's just kind of on the up and up, and a lot of people have been practicing with it.
Yeah, and a couple of reasons behind that is Lucian has taken multiple nerfs. His Relentless Pursuit now has a mana cost on it at early ranks. We removed the Ardent Blaze, the extra damage from AD ratios, increased the movement speed on it. His culling has a higher cooldown. And the big thing with Sivir is that we changed the collision radius on the boomerang blade. So when it flies out, it actually has a little bit longer range because now it detects the edge of it as opposed to the center. So there are some buffs to Sivir, and also it doesn't do anything and like kind of interrupt your auto attack. So you can still auto attack through the boomerang blade cast animation.
I see. Oh yeah, absolutely. So it gives you a little bit extra that burst as an AD carry as well. So even if it doesn't scale as well into the late game, well, we're going to talk about a carry that scary actually as well.
Scary
Jinx
carry.
is going to be locked in, of course. So Prototype going to take that one along with the Kha'Zix. This is a fairly decent protection composition for a very somewhat immobile champion like Jinx.
Yeah, and Jinx, you know, it's his fallback after Vayne, so that's completely expected there. Zenith eSports, you have to think that they knew that this was coming for themselves, and they also picked up the Sivir, who has a really good time against Jinx because their ranges aren't too great difference during the laning phase. You know, Jinx can go into the rocket and the fish bones, but at the same time, the way that she's going to lock her down is negated completely by Spell Shield.
Yeah, not to mention, yeah, the Zap, the Flame Chompers, either of those.
Super Mega Death Rocket.
Yeah. Oh yeah, actually, if you time that right, that's literally the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. Oh, so, Wind Wall's pretty good too.
Wind Wall's pretty solid also, I'll give you that. Swain is locked in as well, so this is something that I think was sort of an option, but not a very common one.
Yeah, there's been a lot of evolution in the top lane because Gnar's been such a big champion up there. And Final 5, you can look at their bans right there across the board. It is all three just top laners. So what that's going to do is that's going to funnel the Solo King onto a champion that he might not be 100% comfortable on. And this guy, the Solo King, he lives up to his name. He gets solo kills or gives solo kills in top lane. There's going to be some action up there. And against Rux, I really expect something to go down. And with those two champions, one likes to scale up, but the fact that people have been kind of morphing Aurelia and going away from the maxing W to maxing E gives you a ton of gank assistance, gives you a longer slow. I think that this is a great pick here. And just looking at the compositions across the board, Zenith has a lot going for them, but Final 5 has a little bit better team fight composition.
I agree. And not to mention, you also have to give credit where it's due for the pickup in the mid of the Jace. I think Easy, not only is he great on that champion, the exhaust should be incredibly useful, not against his own lane, but to deal with the Kha'Zix, to deal with the Jinx, to deal with the Aurelia. Those are veritable assassins in very different ways. I mean, Jinx as an assassin AD carry, maybe, but it's a scary composition that they have to be able to slow down if they want to take out.
Yeah, and the fact that he's going to have all that wave clear, that's really Easy's play style. His most played is Nidalee, and he loves those pokey champions. He's got the Xerath, he's got the Ziggs, he loves the Jace. So this is right up his alley in terms of play style, so he doesn't have to change too much this game. There's different win conditions here for both sides, but there is a little bit better of a 5v5 team fight for Final 5. Whereas Zenith, they're looking for a little bit more poke, but Swain, fitting into this composition is going to be a little difficult for him. But the Sivir is going to allow him to get closer and like get right in with his Ravenous Flock and be able to heal himself up a bunch. So they have different things here, and I really think that Zenith is going to try to play around objectives as opposed to Final Fight just going straight for them.
All right, well, with that said and done, we are going to load up onto Summoners for the first time today. But before we do that, we want to know what you guys are thinking online. You can always go ahead and tweet us at LCS eSports using the hashtag LCS Expansion. Get a conversation going. Let us know what your predictions, prophecies, and paraphrasing is. We'll be going into that game in just a minute, but we have a quick disclaimer before we do.
Yeah, first start a conversation on Twitter with us. We'll read it. But at the same time, little disclaimer here, these games are actually pre-recorded. We're not. We're live, you know. Hey, guys,
we're here. Hello.
It's a little bit after 11.
Just a bit.
Oh, boom, check that one. So this is all pre-recorded. These games have gone through to prevent DDoS, to keep tournament integrity intact, and that's how it's done.
Yep, and that, of course, so these games have been sealed. We don't know what the results are, and here we go, loading up onto Summoner's Rift. It is Zenith eSports versus Final 5, and they're coming out of the gates pretty strong. Pretty standard items, and nothing really crazy happening. Line of scrimmage lighting up to begin this game.
Yeah, it looks like, well, that's a little uncharacteristic because Wild Mimo, he loves those level 1 invades. He got himself an early game champion. And everybody I talk to about this team of Zenith says they always level 1. They always try to go after people.
Yeah, they're just having a little bit of fun right now. You know, there's still plenty of time for this invade. It's only a minute on the clock. But I would expect it just because we have seen it happen so much. And Mimo has a fairly solid early game jungling champion in Lee Sin. He could pull those counter moves off, but maybe they're a little bit worried about the counter level 1 from Final 5. This is a strong team at just about every stage of the game.
Yeah, they have a really good power curve working for them here. You're going to see Rux actually taking the Crystalline Flask into the top lane. He's not looking to be aggressive. He's looking to just outlast that lane against the solo king and not get solo killed.
Yeah, well, that's probably the best thing to avoid when you're dealing with solo king up there. He does certainly make that his own territory. But Rux, no stranger to dealing with aggressive top laners, even if they're on Swain, definitely something we didn't quite expect to see. But as you mentioned, all those bans kind of force you to play something a little different.
Yeah, looking at the supports here, Jana made a really big resurgence during Worlds. He's starting with the Ancient Point there. And look at that, the invade coming out from Zenith eSports. They're trying to at least put pressure on this.
Yep, you see Prototype just trying to zone just a little bit here. Of course, taking the Q level 1, pretty standard stuff as well, and they are able to fend it off. So lanes are going to start up nice and normal. No swaps, nothing ridiculous, but kind of a half-hearted attempt as Mimo is just solo taking his own red.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how this bot lane shapes up because we're going to have the Sivir, something we haven't seen in a very long time since people were doing these all-in compositions that just run straight at you. This composition doesn't really accomplish that for the most part. You're going to have a Jace that doesn't always want to all-in. You want to poke, stay on the outskirts. And look at this, the zoning potential here. The sustain from Nami is going to do wonders against this Janna. It's damage that when you put it onto her, she's not going to be able to heal up. She just shields preemptively. And look at that, Shorter Ace, he's actually going for the red invade here.
Yeah, he's trying to get this double red buff start to avoid keeping Shorter Ace from getting that buff. And he's going to say, hey, what happened to mine? Going to go ahead and throw out a W in that one. And it looked like we might have an early jungle fight. It could turn into a smite fight.
A smite fight!
Just a second, here we go. Mimo, they're going to juggle the aggro right now. And who's going to be able to pick this one off? It's going to be one more. Oh! And it ends up going over to Mimo. No, it doesn't actually. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does. They juked me.
The flash is coming over, there he goes!
The Shorter Ace, it's first blood, and that's going to be easy picking it up. So he, on the roam, is able to accomplish what Gate could not. And we thought it was going to be top lane first blood, but we were wrong.
No, it happened in that jungle. We talked about Mimo, he loves to invade. We talked about his level 1s, but look at that, level 2 invade. They knew where the route was going to be, because Shorter Ace started on that bottom side. There was the harassment by the bot lane there, so they were able to know that route. Shorter Ace doesn't go straight for his red, and it costs him.
Yeah,
and at the same time, easy, he shoved it out. And look at that. Now he has a blue buff in that lane. It's going to tilt it in his favor even more.
Yeah, not only that, the extra gold in his pocket is going to make him get that level advantage just a little bit quicker. Whoa, Prototype has to be careful, takes one edge of the Boomerang Blade, and he is extremely low, having to pop the last of his potions. Frostalicious and K1 really not making this lane easy.
Yeah, she's gained about 80 or some odd range from the change to the edge of the Boomerang Blade being the collision as opposed to the center. It's a really big thing. You wouldn't think about it too much, but at the same time, also adding in the fact you get it doesn't cancel your auto attack animation is really big for just when you're a high level player and you know how to trade.
Yeah, so they're getting this one pushed in pretty hard here. They are going to get a bubble out on a Prototype, so he's going to take almost the full duration of the blade. Frost is getting in his business, but this is turning the damage around. Has to Spell Shield. Well, very useful ability in and of itself, but he did not take the better of that one. And although he is getting a little bit more poke out, but Janna going to help sustain just a little bit.
It looked like it was going to be a really good trade there for Frostalicious, but he does have his potion over Prototype. So Prototype is going to be down in effective HP at this point. He is going to have the Janna shield though, and that's what came up big in that last trade.
Yeah, that was really the benefit there of having that Janna, not just early in lane, but once she hits 6th of Monsoon, it's going to work so well to try to counter some of these engages, again, to protect the hyper carry that is Jinx, but Prototype still taking a lot of damage. These guys have blood in their eyes, and I really thought the top lane would be the one that we'd want to watch, but Mimo, he is thinking the same thing right now, moving up to try and capitalize on Rux, just being a little bit wary of him, though. I think he knows something's up.
Mimo's trying to keep tabs all over Shorter Ace here. He's warded up his jungle very early on. And he also put it on that top side because they like to get the solo king rolling. You know, he is the solo king. Sometimes he's blasphemous even to himself, and he'll get a gank.
Well, sometimes it's a solo kingdom, but you can't count out Rux City, so he's doing pretty solid right now. Both the top laners at level 5. Once we see that 6, we might see it just get a little bit more bloody, but there we go.
That ward pays off right there. They know Shorter Ace's position. Mimo can choose to gank a different lane, or he can choose to go up there depending on the exit route that Shorter Ace chooses.
Yeah, so far Zenith definitely doing a pretty solid job of getting keywords. They may not have placed a ton of them, but they're placing them in really good locations to get the site. Yep, easy Mimo. They're moving up.
They have the wards already all over Shorter Ace. Is he going to see it?
Yeah, I think he does. The Shock Blast still connects on him, though, and Mimo's looking for the chase. He almost lands the Sonic Wave, but they're going to have to settle for a Wraith Camp. Maybe Shorter Ace can try to sneak in there and smite steal something, but it's not going to happen.
Okay. Easy's doing a really good job of shoving, but he's missing some CS to do so. So they're putting more priority on jungle invade and jungle pressure than they are just winning the lane in mid. They're trying to make it so that you win the jungle, then you'll win mid, as opposed to vice versa.
Yeah, Mimo is really doing a good job of knowing exactly where Shorter Ace is going to be before he even does it. It's almost like he's reading his mind before he even makes it up. But now Shorter Ace is coming in to try to take a fight here, at least try to scare them away. Gate was moving out as well, but they don't really want to use their teleport. Rux is just going to be backing for the time being. Solo King gets quite a lot of free farm to himself.
He's a little bit down in farm compared to Aurelia. It's going to be about even when he clears that wave, depending on how much he gets.
She'll hit a pretty decent power spike anyways. The Rod of Ages will be completed in just a little bit. Frost, though, since K1 went to go zone up and ward a little bit, had to get pushed back in for a moment. But again, there's been a lot of pressure on Prototype. He's losing in the CS game, but he is a much later game carry. And once again, this time it's Mimo who gets spotted out. So they know just about where he's heading to, looking for a blue buff, but he's not going to find it.
Nope, he's going to get the timer on it, though. It is about that 7 minutes and 20 seconds that it'll come up. Look at that, the harassment.
He's able to dodge a bit, though.
Yeah. Big thing about that matchup is the fact that he has Nami. As soon as he gets one attack, despite the range of 500 on Sivir, he's still going to be able to get the follow-up attacks with the slow. Yeah,
and it's like this is going to be the first big contest this game so far, the blue buff. Not very happy that there's a whole lot of people there, but there is going to be the instantaneous shockwave. Not going to be enough to capitalize on it, but Prototype still returns some damage. Get out of our jungle.
Yeah, it's one of those early skirmishes. Jace, level 6, does nothing. He already has his ultimate. You don't put points into it anyway. Orianna, level 6, really big for those mid-game skirmishes. Those early-game skirmishes, too, as soon as you hit 6. So it was big there that he hit that. They're able to secure their own blue for himself and not get even further behind that mid lane.
Yeah, really good that they hadn't... Well, not really good, but really interesting that they hadn't backed and bought the items. Otherwise, we might have seen a little bit more bloodshed down there. But as it was, everyone was able to walk it out after the shockwave got completed. But a very timely level 6 for the mid laner, the final 5.
Yeah, it's a very good decision there, too, by Easy to stay in the mid lane afterwards and just clear it out. He's doing a really good job of pushing waves. He doesn't seem to care how much CS he ends up losing, as long as he's keeping pressure on Gate.
Now, Mimo has been doing a pretty solid job, even if he's down a little bit in CS. And well, there's that combat we talked about. Rux, a lot of damage dealt to him, but that Equilibrium Strike is going to be pretty useful if he wants to take it. Looks like he's going for the chase right now. Got to be careful, though. Swain can dish some damage from afar.
He's maxing that E first on Swain. You don't see a lot of Swain, so everything that you max is a little bit...
standard. It's all standard.
Yep. Shorter Ace coming up top. There is a ward there. He is going to place the pink.
I don't think either of these junglers have really been able to do anything sneakily this game. It's been all about the vision in that jungle. However, here we go. Prototype Rule 18. They're going to try to clear this out. Can only mean one thing. They're eyeballing the dragon right now, but they don't have the means to take it just yet.
They're getting eyeballed themselves by that ward. It's all about this ward control for both teams, and I love the fact that both are both teams have everybody contributing to it. The AD carries are clearing wards out. They're helping their support place the wards. Everybody is doing something here. The mid laners, the junglers buying wards themselves and placing them. Look at Rux. He's got himself a pink ward in his inventory, and he's ready to go. But look at that. Once again, coming back to the scene of the crime where the first blood came down, there's so much pressure on Shorter Ace this game from Mimo and Gate.
Everything they can do, every little advantage they can try to shut down Shorter Ace, they're going to take it. Of course, it may not be the biggest selling point of this team's fight. They want to be able to take as much time as they can to get the ramp up. They have a late game Orianna, they have an Aurelia, they have a Jinx. These are all item dependent champions, and it's just going to get worse and worse. But Zenith, they're doing pretty good so far. Solo King really beating out Rux for the start of this game.
He's not beating him out too much. Rux does have the flask.
That's true.
And the fact that he's already ahead of him in CS and applying pressure is a really big thing. It's pretty much even at this point. Like, I don't mean to like be like, no, you're wrong, but they're pretty similar at this point.
That's true. The jungle pressure is really what's making the difference right now.
Yes.
Mimo's been just a lot more proactive in trying to draw away several members of Final Five, and that's like what they want to do. They want to keep them stretched all around the map and not let them get to this comfortable state where they can just start to outscale. So it's true, the Solo King isn't maybe necessarily ahead, but he's doing what he needs to keep Rux occupied, and they're not going to expend that teleport without first using one of theirs. So when we do see a final fight, it should be a pretty big explosive.
Oh, Lee Sin.
Yep, he's coming in.
He missed the Sonic Wave.
Yeah, that was a little unfortunate, but all the same, Frost and K1 are able to handle this one up. You have Shorter Ace making moves, looking potentially at a lane gank right now, but it's going to be hard to pull off. There's a lot of mobility in that bot side.
Yeah, there's a lot of mobility there, and I think the big story of this game so far has just been the amount of pressure that they've been placing on Shorter Ace. Gate is sacrificing CS. He's about 11 behind now to just clear the wave, keep pressure on Gate so he can't go anywhere, and then they invade the jungle. They try to keep Shorter Ace down, keep tabs on him so he can't cause early pressure. And here's the thing too, is we're going to hit some mid-game power spikes before the Dragon comes up. Question is, can Solo King end up getting his Rod of Ages and Rux get his Trinity Force? Because if they show up with a Rod of Ages and the Trinity Force isn't completed yet, it's going to be a really good fight for Final Five.
Yeah, there's definitely a window of opportunity. And
Zen.
Also, you have a couple of interesting builds to maybe counteract that as well. You have Gate going for the very early Spirit, or rather the Spirit of the Spectral Wraith, just to get a little bit more of that AP so he can farm up in the jungle when he needs to as well. And you can see the CS differential there. You know, it's one way to catch up.
How Chinese of him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the, not standard, but a lot of Chinese players in the LPL end up doing that build to stack it, clear Wraiths. That's going to contribute more to his CS, and that's actually going to help him just clear out, get more damage, and then have enough time to just pick up the Wraiths, and Shorter Ace won't be in that area anymore.
Or the Wolves if it will be. But yeah, Shorter Ace is actually not too perturbed by the fact that he's having to share a little bit of jungle, not just with his mid laner, but with the enemy jungler. Mimo's kind of been helping himself to all-you-can-eat jungle buffet, but here comes Shorter Ace trying to bait this out. Rux just standing on still, but Solo King has been incredibly passive this game from what we've seen of him.
Yeah, Flash still available. They're going to have to get a really good setup here to make this happen. He does have his ultimate. He can stealth in. Rux is a little bit lower, so he'll get the stun.
Trying to make himself look tasty.
There he goes.
Here he goes, got the ult on, but there's Shorter Ace jumping out of the brushes. Surprise, it's a Grasshopper, and Solo King is in a little bit of trouble. He's going to go down. That's Rux picking up the kill.
The bait there is so crucial, but that's going to ping Zenith to go straight for this Dragon.
Yeah, that is like clockwork. 1-2. Almost gets stolen by Prototype. That would have been something, but Mimo, with the timed smite, able to secure that one for his team, but Final Five are fighting back.
Yeah, and Shorter Ace, he felt the pressure on him. He went for that top lane gank, and they didn't get anything for it on the bot side of the map. So it's 1-1, but a 600 gold advantage for Zenith.
Not for long.
There
that tower will get taken down. So, you know, in all senses, it pretty close to evened out there, and the gold is just about bang even. Only 200 differential, but right now, Rule 18 just hanging out mid with Gate, just trying to make sure they can make their presence known, and this is kicking into a pretty high gear mid game.
Yeah, I didn't see the turret going down while all that was happening.
Yeah, it was a last-second thing, kind of. They didn't have the highest damage output together, but I think they were able to pull it off at the same time the Dragon was happening. But right now, Zenith is looking for this mid-turret. Meanwhile, Prototype, Jinx is one of the best solo pushers in the AD carry game, but it's going to have to watch out because Frost is going to be able to clear this away.
Yeah,
a lot of damage on the tower.
When she reaches that turret, she's really good at taking it down.
Objective focus on this team right now. Yeah, Rule 18 has to be so careful. Those shock blasts are hitting harder and harder with the armor pen. Shield's going to be on, but it won't be for much longer. That tower's getting fired down, but they're trying to watch out for Gate. Shockwave is available, and they don't know where Shorter Ace is, and they're going to have to settle for a bit more poke. Again, Rule 18, though, he has to be careful.
Yeah, tower sieging here is definitely Easy's game of choice. They like these mid-game, late-game compositions on Zenith's side. They like to formulate them around what Easy's picked.
It's kind of an interesting strategy considering they also like those level 1 fights, or at the very least getting a little advantage, turning it into something that can go into a late-game strat. Now here we go. We see Solo King trying to
He's just going to clear it out.
Yeah, he's going to be able to clear this ward now that he knows he's been spotted.
That shock blast into the fog of war actually hit Shorter Ace when he was at Wraiths. So he got
anything you can do to get sight.
Yeah, whatever you can.
You don't just need wards. There's plenty of ways to do it. Frost actually taking some poke out of Prototype, who's feeling pretty confident in this game now that he's been able to pick up some of his starting items here. Both AD carries not quite on the Infinity Edges just yet, but it's almost like a more traditional fight. I think we saw this several patches ago.
Look at that. The Solo King coming down from top lane. He doesn't have a turret. The ward coverage on that side isn't ideal for him. He could get flanked around. And actually, you can see that Final 5, they're making their stand inside this jungle. They're trying to at least get vision of it.
Wow, this tower should get fired down pretty easy, but Shorter's on the run. Frost is going to be able to pop his ultimate, though. That's a lot of speed.
Get excited.
Exhaust is down. Let's see if he can pull off that one. A teleport's coming in. Double teleports now. The choppers are down. Prototype, he's low, has to flash, and he's still getting away.
Dots.
Oh, he goes down finally. There's the wave out of K1. Shorter Ace and Rux on the run. Can they get this done? They can. And now they're going to take their time about it, playing with their food. It's a double kill over to Solo King, and Rux is still running away. Rule 18, what can he do? He's got the Monsoon. He has to use it, but Mimo comes in, and now they're chasing Rule 18 down the line. 3 kills for none. Rule 18 has to book it out of there.
And Gate and Easy, nowhere to be seen in that fight. Can Mimo hit this? It's
going to be rough. I mean, this tower still has some health on it, so I think they're going to be happy with the fact that they just were able to pull off those 3. That other tower is getting fired down. Zenith, though, really full throttle at this point.
Yeah, and Zenith are going to have to get more for this because it's only a 1,000 gold advantage at this point. They're going to try to go after this turret, try to make it even more, and I love that they're doing that, not showing hesitation in this very important match.
Yeah, excellent job at controlling the objectives this time. They've been in the enemy jungle, they've been in each of the lanes, and they've been able to take the better fight. So now grabbing themselves a couple thousand gold ahead of their opponents. It's only 16.5 minutes into the game, but they're feeling pretty confident on the side of Zenith.
Yeah, and what allowed that fight to happen the way it did was Prototype overextended. He used his exhaust, and then the TP behind him, because of how extended he was what cost them. The Solo King came out. He didn't care, though. He was right on top of Flame Chompers, walked straight through them afterwards, Ravenous block, the dots, the flash away, and that's a really, really big victory there for Zenith. That's going to allow them to dictate a little bit more in this mid-game.
And you can see Final 5 doing what they can to try and grab a little bit of gold back into this one, but the skill shots are flying left and right. Tower is defended, so Zenith is able to get here in time, and there is only two more outer turrets remaining. One for each side, well, two and then one. My math is pretty bad today, apparently, but there almost isn't one in the mid side here for Final 5. They have the tiniest of health bars on it. They really need to defend what they can, but it feel like this is kind of a lost cause in this mid lane. They should be looking for something else right now.
Yeah, Zenith have a better kind of 1 or 2 person skirmish composition. Like, if it's a 2-on-2, they're probably going to win. If it's a 5-on-5, straight from the get-go, Final 5 have more tools available to them to win that fight between the members of their composition. But Zenith, that was a perfect fight for them. They like that stagger in and not even have Gate, the Orianna, who's going to just suck them all in for that Super Mega Death Rocket, was really, really big in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a classic clear-cut chase, and they were able to just capitalize on the over-aggression of Prototype. You could see he likes to duel. He wants to make those things happen, and he is the one who calls the team fight, so he was making that audible for Final 5, but this tower looks like it stays their number. They are able to clear the wave away for now, but they still are just trying to scramble for position.
Yeah, at this point, Zenith, they know Dragon's up in 45 seconds. They're clearing out all of this. They have jungle vision control on this side, and they're going to take this blue as well.
Yeah, get anything you can. Oh, they're just going to leave the little lizards, too. So BM.
No, it's a fantastic strategy against this team composition. Jace, he loves having that blue up. The Muramana's going to help him a whole bunch when he gets that.
Tower's fired down.
Yep.
They get that outer, so only one that remains is the top, but it is, of course, 2 towers to 2. It's looking even in that department, but it really isn't. Zenith definitely taking the lead in this one. They don't have the hugest gold lead, but they are able to get a little bit more in just a minute. Dragon's up in 15 seconds. Final 5 cannot afford to let this one go.
Yeah, Easy just back to get himself boots and a pickaxe. He's going to make it to that Dragon fight off the acceleration gate, just transforming for the extra movement speed. But when he gets there, it's going to be a fight that Zenith, you know, they are at that point where they are pretty ahead. They're at 1,600-ish, 1,400-ish.
Yeah, Final 5's looking to bait him in, but, you know, we talked a little bit about Zenith having these kind of kited out comps and trying not to expose themselves too much. Ooh. Oh, they almost saw Gate.
I don't know if they saw him with that ward coming down, if you saw it fast enough. Gate's a crucial member to have in this fight, but he has to back.
They're going to be able to take this dragon without him there. I think Final 5 notices this. They have to give this up, and that was a really ill-timed back. You're right.
Yeah, the back timing was really bad there. When Easy took a much better back timing for his items.
Yeah, they really were able to do that in the perfect moment because, yeah, not only did he have the ability to get back to lane quickly, he had a little bit more movement speed plus the acceleration gate, but they knew that Final 5 were going to try to push up mid, and they had Nemo there to defend. They had Solo King around the side. It was really well played by Zenith. They are kind of coming together as a team right now.
Yeah, and they had the vision control on that right side of the map, so they knew where they were setting up for Dragon, but then the fact that he backed just was really, really confusing there. Like, he did want to have an item spike, and they would have less AP available to them for the Dragon fight, but if Dragon fight doesn't even happen, you give up that objective and you just let Zenith get even further ahead.
Yeah. When you do get a little bit flustered when things aren't going the way you expect them to go, you can start to make little mistakes, get capitalized on, and we do know that Final 5 is a team that sometimes is plagued by these small mental errors that turn into big things.
Yeah, Final 5, just talking to them, they have a bunch of nerves coming into these matches. They're extremely important, but a lot of these guys are really young. And Rux is the guy that has to tell everybody to calm down, you know, because everybody, sometimes nerves gets the better of them. Their comms can sometimes get really cluttered, and they end up just screaming and yelling.
Yeah,
but
and
right now,
it's not very good for your teamwork effort.
No, it's definitely not. It's something that's counterintuitive. But right now, they need more clear communication. They need to have somebody set up what they're going to end up doing and when they're going to end up doing it, because Zenith, they're right on point today.
Yeah, this is one of the best they've looked in a while. And, you know, this is a team that has gone through some changes. They've had a couple of roster swaps, but they have been around in the scene, at least in name, for a little while now. And they have been showing here today so far that they mean business in this tournament. They're not just going to let themselves be considered, well, they're not necessarily underdogs in this particular set, but if they were to move on, it'd almost certainly be.
Yeah, right now it's about as even as you're going to get in this tournament. It's the seed 7 and 6 for the rank 5's ladder. And look at that,
starting the fight. They're going to be able to get that one off, but Gate's still walking away from it. The turret is down, but they're going to keep going for this one. Rux, he's going to get capitalized on right here, but he flashes away. Exhaust is down on him. They're trying to chase, but an escape from Final 5. That's going to be big.
Just to disengage there, the help of Janna. That looked like a fight that Final 5, you know, if they had set up for it appropriately, would have been able to take it to Zenith, but the kick backwards from Mimo was right on point, and just showing why they wanted that champion, Rengar, out of the equation as well, and putting Shorter Ace onto Kha'Zix, which is one of his fallbacks.
Nonetheless, they still have a pretty solid siege comp, and they have to be careful on the side of Final 5. They've taken a lot of abuse from that last one, Gate in particular, and so did Rux, but the minion waves, every single time they go through the cannon fodder, they're able to fire that down just a little bit more. So Zenith in charge of this game as they continue to siege down the mid.
And they have a really good siege composition. He's just going to keep poking, and there it is. Half HP on 3 members of Final 5, and they're just sticking around on this turret. They have to stagger their backs, but I don't know if they have the wave clear available for the dive that might come out here in just a second.
Do it. Oh no, Shorter Ace, Gate both blinking. The rocket's going to come in, but that was just a deterrent to clear some waves. They're still firing it down. They're tanking the shots, and now it's Frost. When your AD carry is able to tank it, you know something has gone horribly, horribly wrong for the other team. Shorter Ace and Gate can't afford to get back here. They're actually walking back to Fountain, and this tower is going to be done.
Look at that. The W max second, the hypercharge on Jace. Don't put any points into your ultimate. Just go straight Q, straight W. 130% of your attack damage for 3 hits and gives you max attack speed. So you're doing 390% of your damage in a very, very short window, about a second and a half.
Yeah, that burst is incredible, and they have not been able to really avoid it. You see Final 5 grouping up here, but Zenith, they're the ones who have been able to avoid a lot of the skill shots. Since that level 6 immediate shockwave, we haven't seen a good one land from Gate. And that has really been the story of these fights. It's been disengaged, it's been getting caught. That's really all that's happened. The kill counter is low, but the towers are starting to go in favor of Zenith in a pretty big way.
Yeah, he's going to have to up his game, maybe possibly acceleration Gate.
Oh,
anyway,
jumped on.
Easy.
Yeah. Oh, they get the baits. Reverse around the side. Kickback. It's going to be Rule 18 they're chasing down. And the Hunters are getting hunted. That's Rule 18 going down the wave. He's going to get dodged out by Gape. Shorter Ace is going to be there as well. But now they are looking down this river, see if they can grab any other advantages.
There's some big problems here for Final 5, considering the team composition they created for themselves. Prototype, this guy, he loves to split push, right? Like, that's why he takes exhaust on every AD carry. But this is a team fight composition. He needs to be involved in these fights. That could have been really good for them if he was present. Gate got a really good shockwave. He almost killed Nami straight out, and then the superior range and the fact that Prototype has a red would have helped him take out Frostalicious.
Yeah, they really haven't been collabing as best as you could see. From this side of Final 5, they've had some troubles. We mentioned how they may have nerves, and that could affect their comms, and we're going to see, backs are going to be fine, and Gate's going to discover, where'd my blue buff go?
Yeah, there's so much pressure on Shorter Ace, and he is the shot caller of the team. He's also extremely young. I think he's 17 years old.
Yeah, Prototype gets involved in that too, though. He's the one calling the audibles in the fights, and you can tell in that earlier engage when they went all in.
Exactly. How do you call the audibles?
There's really nothing you can do about that. It's really strange that they've kind of decided to have him splitting. You usually don't want your AD unless it's somebody like Jinx to do that, because you want to be able to solo someone, but at this point they feel like they don't have much of a choice in this, and that's really showing a lack of confidence on the side of Final 5.
Jinx is also very dependent on your front line, and if it's present, to peel for you. But at the same time, they don't really want to group up against Zenith's team composition to avoid the poke of Jace.
And there it is. Shield comes out in time.
But it's a composition that you have to kind of group up for on Final 5's side.
Yeah, it's kind of a difficult to win situation for them. So they're doing everything they can to apply pressure on a couple different lanes of the map. You saw the split push now. You saw Rux moving up there as well. But Zenith, they're controlling this one. The Dragon is live. They can take it whenever they want pretty much because Mimo is just already starting it. And you see, Final 5, they know this is happening, they have to, and they're trying to zone out, but they're not looking to take a fight here. Gate taking a huge shock blast to the face, and he has to back off now. This Dragon, again, gold in the pocket of Zenith.
Every Dragon in this game's fallen into Zenith's hands since that first one that they traded up top the Solo King for. Like, this is a really good game showing Zenith's objective control, and the fact that they picked this team composition for themselves and they played their win conditions, they aren't looking for the 5v5. They're kind of avoiding it. They're grabbing the objectives. When we first saw this come out, I was saying, Zenith, they're probably going to play around the objectives, try to poke people off of them, and they're doing a little bit of that, and they're avoiding the 5v5s because Final 5 aren't playing to their win conditions and grouping up for it.
Not only that, but Mimo kind of went with the program as well. We talked a little bit about how he likes to level 1 invade, do some really crazy things, and try to kill the enemy jungler. Well, up against Kha'Zix, I think he kind of realized, hey, you know what? What if I just calm down a little bit? I go with the rest of the team's program, I steal objectives, I do what I can, and it's worked out so well for Zenith this game.
Yeah, and Shorter Ace is actually a level up on Mimo at this point in the game because he's been reserved to farming. Mimo's been putting pressure on the map. He's been taking Shorter Ace's buff, so Shorter Ace has been basically going to lanes, getting some experience, not getting too much for it, but the reason he's getting that experience is because Mimo's killing the people who are supposed to be taking it in the first place.
Yeah, so he might have a CS lead, but that's pretty deceptive. You look at the KDA across the boards, especially for those junglers, and you see some stark differences. Now, Baron being eyeballed for the time being, but no team really in a position to take that just yet. It's 27 minutes in, but if a team's going to try and bait this one out, it will be Zenith. They're moving with all 5 members close to this jungle.
And here's the thing, too, is despite the gold lead being in Zenith's favor by about 4,000, it's still not insurmountable for Final 5. They have a teamfight composition. If they can catch Zenith when they're 4 instead of their 5 members, it's very, very easy for them to take that fight. They have all the tools to come back. And if they can catch easy, then they can get that fight for themselves. And then they can stop the siege and they can counter siege. There's a lot of things here that Final 5 can do, but Zenith, they just have to stick with their program.
Yeah, they're really not making mistakes this time. And you look at the score across the board. Yes, they've given up a couple of towers, but that's all been counter pressure. Solo King getting killed, the sole kill that Final 5 has, they answered with a dragon. It has been a story of Zenith capitalizing on every little thing that they can find and creating edges for themselves because they're not as confident in the team fight. Now Frost, he's going to be able to spell shield away the shockwave, and now that that crucial spell is down, that's a huge telegraph over to Zenith that your team is not all synced up right now. Gonna get this Gate. He might go down here. The wave's coming out for the zone. They get the flashes. Mimo picking up Gate. They try to get the bubble on Prototype. They don't even need it because Easy gonna flash in for the killing spree. And he even gets a parting shot. Down on the bot side, Solo King Rux gonna continue to trade it out. But this looks like it is trending in the Swain favor, and this tower should go down. 28.5 minutes, another big one, a couple of catches, and Zenith is on the charge.
Gate just had some fire in his eyes when he saw Frostalicious use the spell shield on that ultimate. He's like, you're not getting away, and they completely turned that around with the baits. It's ridiculous how great this team looks from Zenith at this moment.
Yeah, they got the teleport on too, just to try to save a minion, and Solo King coming in there will be able to take down the inhibitor turret, firing down the inhib. There's really nothing Final 5 thinks they can do about this when they're taking way too much abuse on the poke. Rux trying to answer back, but he just doesn't have the damage, and they give up an inhibitor almost for free there, and that's Zenith able to walk away.
And it looked like it was a very easy fight for them at that point. The TP coming in from the Solo King to allow them to just continue damaging the turret and keep that minion alive a little longer. And like I said, the Jace, the Hypercharge, very, very low cooldown. I think it's about 3 seconds. It gets really low, and you build cooldown reduction. He has the Muramana complete. He's able to take these fights and chunk these towers incredibly quickly.
They're putting everything they can on him, too, giving him every buff that Red was taken away. And then, look at that. Even on Rux, even on one of the bigger members of this team, he's able to chunk him just a little bit more. And now Zenith is still in position to take this. They feel they can fight anywhere on the map. The top lane is exposed. Those super minions will be marching pretty soon.
Yeah.
And they're just looking for any little thing. Again, stay with the program. You're fine.
Yeah, 7,000 gold lead. It's just been edging more and more and more off of their just coordination in these team fights.
Now this time, Gates can pick up his blue, but yeah, I mean, there really haven't been full team fights. It seems like it's been anything that hasn't gone Zenith's way has really just been a story of, can we get out in time? Can we reset? I
can say with confidence there has not been a 5v5 team fight this game.
Absolutely not. It's been catches, chases. And, you know, this is one of the reasons you take a champion like Sivir. Yeah, that is kind of the throwback strat. We can run at you, but at the same time, they haven't really needed to. They've been able to just chase them down and get at least 1 or 2 kills and then turn that into an objective. And, you know, little things like that repeated, wash, rinse, that's all you need to do.
Yeah. It's been 5-on-4 for some of the fights, but it's never in Final Five's favor. The fights that are being taken are all Zenith. And Final Five, they seem to have 2 people who like to split push, but that's not what this team composition does. And it just seems like an anti-synergy in terms of their personalities and what they like to accomplish.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit scattered right now, doing whatever they can to try and defend up. They still have a number of towers on that bot and mid side, but they have to be careful defending those, and they also have to start taking things. They've yet to crack this inner shell, so Rux going to try to solo the solo king, but I don't know how this one's going to end. It's a slap fest down there, but they're going to get a little bit of help in the form of Frost. They do see that one, so Rux on the run right now.
Ulti.
Can he get away? There we go. They're going to get that. The boomerang going to be dodged just barely 1 pixel away from taking it, but they're still chasing him down. Rux realizes he has to do something, but he can't do a thing at all. It's Rux going down, and he barely touched Frost.
Really good build there from Frost Delicious. He goes for extra damage over getting armor penetration because there isn't any armor to have to penetrate through at this point. So Last Whisper wouldn't be as cost effective as the build that he's gone with the Bloodthirster.
Yeah, it's almost like seeing a bit of a throwback, seeing a Sivir, seeing a Bloodthirster.
Yep.
I kind of miss those days. This tower is going to get fired down pretty easily again. That siege is monumental, a massive play, and easy. He's got that big axe right now. He's going to be able to chunk anyone he wants, and this other inhibitor tower should go down pretty quick. They're still taking Shock Blast. Rule 18, he's got nothing left in the tank, and Solo King able to Zanya's out. The Shockwave, though, they might shut him down, and they do. It's going over to Prototype, so they get an answer back, but all the same, there are super minions on the Nexus right now, and they have to get back to defend. They've already lost a tower.
There's 2 super minions there. Frostlish is getting... dang. That's Prototype. It's so hard to read from so far away.
I know, right? It's almost like they're testing your sight. But this dragon, every little thing, Zenith is just grabbing everything on the map. It's not even greedy because they're able to trade so effectively. And that was the cost of being able to defend your inhibitor turret, to be able to pick somebody like Solo King off. Yes, he got caught, but what did they trade for? They got a Nexus turret because of super minions.
Yeah, and the fact that they're not going to get anything else off of it, no dragon, no Baron here for Final Five, but we might see them try to set up for one and make a desperation play.
Well, yeah, but you see Frost Delicious, talk about AD carry split pushing. Look at what he's doing right now, seeing if he can't fire down the last couple.
Is that it?
They're going to trade for the Baron. Oh, but this is an interesting situation because they don't have full members. They might answer back, but this Baron could go over. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Final Five with a desperation move. They get it. Teleport on Rux.
They got to get
out
of there.
Get to the bot side. Yeah, they're in trouble here. This is going to be a chase down, but Mimo not going to connect on the Sonic Wave. All the same, Frost is able to escape. So, interesting gambit there from Final Five, and they grab themselves a Baron.
Yeah, it's going to pay off, though, because when you have the Baron, you know, it goes without saying, enemy team can't get it now. So that's less pushing power. It's going to allow them to wave clear. They have Jinx, they have Orianna. They have really good wave clear available to them. They just have to avoid the poke of Gate, or sorry, of Easy. 4-letter names, mid laners.
Exactly. Well, Gate can poke as well. They have to avoid being caught up in those shockwaves, and that is the only way they've been really able to take people down this game. Solo King, for a second, it looked like he was going to get away. That Zanya's was incredible to avoid the Super Mega Death Rocket AoE, but then they were able to pick him off. So again, off the back of that, they called a Baron, they went for it, you see zero hesitation. So even in the darkest moments, Final Five able to grab something back, and that saves them in this game for a few more minutes.
That's one of those moments where your shot caller goes, it's now or never. We either roll over or we sit in our base, clear a little bit, they get Baron, and then they come back at us stronger. Let's try to equalize that a little bit. 7,000 gold difference between them. Baron's going to give them about 4,000 gold worth of combat stats at this point in the game. So when they meet up, it's not as big a difference, and they're going to be able to have these waves pushing in towards them. They do have an inhibitor respawn. They have some naked inhibs, but can't. But now here's the thing. they're not going to be split pushing too much. They might be grouped more as 5 because they're all in the same place in their base, and that might actually help Final 5.
Yeah, and this is what they want, actually. They've wanted to take straight fights all game, and Zenith just hasn't been giving it to them. Hit and run in a lot of places, and now they're still able to push a lot of different ways, but it's difficult to do that into a Baron, so they've effectively kind of said, hey, if you want to push into us, that's fine, but you're going to have to take it on our terms.
Yeah, the only member to actually die on Zenith has been the Solo King.
Oh, this tower's going down pretty quick anyways. They did not get there to defend it in time, and they can probably walk away from this one. That was just a slow move there from Final 5. I don't think they expected that.
Well, they also didn't have Prototype. I said they weren't going to split push, but
they did. Rux is tanking up quite a lot of the return poke, but he's really the only one still trying to chase this out. So that's going to end, and they just pretty much get that one out for free. So Zenith, again, every little advantage they can grab, they will, and it's an 8,000 gold lead right now for Zenith eSports as they continue to try and move around the map.
And they're just going to go ahead, clear this out as much as they possibly can. That blue.
That blue has never been Final Fives.
It has been. I think Orianna picked it up once.
But it's
twice. Okay, so they got the first one, and Orianna got the one right before this one, I believe.
It is definitely not the Final 5 jungle so much on the bot side, though.
They don't need it too much, though. Orianna has the max cooldown reduction, and she has Athene's, as well as a Baron buff ticking on her at this moment. So it's not a huge loss, but the fact that Gate gets it, he can just continually spam, not have to worry about mana, uses for mana.
They do have good wave clear here. As you can see, Prototype able to rocket down a good chunk of those waves. So if the siege is stalled, if Zenith is unable to push in with all their members, Final 5 does have a chance to keep this game going as long as they can until they start ramping up. But it seems like they've been a little bit pushed back there. I think they need Prototype to start getting some kills in his pocket.
Yeah, speaking of kills in their pocket, Rux, he has one for his team, and he's kind of invested that into a Last Whisper on Aurelia.
Yeah, an interesting
It's very,
choice
very
there.
interesting, because he's not going to get too much use out of it. A lot of her damage comes from true damage. The Blade Surge, that's physical, but then her E is magic damage. Her Equilibrium Strike. So he's just going for some auto attack.
I think he's changed his mind quite a lot this game. You see him sitting on the Negatron cloak. He bought that, I think, third item.
Yeah, he's just trying to get some resistances in his pocket to deal with the Solo King, but not dedicate his entire arsenal to that, because he's going to be eating a lot more physical damage from the team overall.
True that. And they've just kind of, again, trying to answer back whatever Zenith is doing. But they have been able to stop Zenith from getting any more advantages, although now Frost, again, AD carry split pushing. This is not necessarily something to try at home, but these guys have been making it work pretty well. Or maybe not.
Play.
Frost could be in trouble here. They are going to get to his rescue, and there is the answer on back. They want to try to find some damage onto Rux. Solo King teleporting in.
Shorter.
They find Shorter Race. He cannot get involved in that. His team wasn't there, and they're forced to blow the Monsoon of Rule 18. Shock Blast going to split the uprights.
Look at that, just trying to wave clear it out. There are no more inhibitor turrets available to Zenith on the bot or the top.
Yeah, they can only take the middle one, but again, this anti-siege is pretty good. The Baron buff is down now. Dragon's going to spawn up in a minute, so they will be eyeballing that just at this point to deny the gold. I mean, there's still some items to buy, but they're getting towards that point where the gold doesn't mean as much.
Yeah, so Zenith since they don't have those bottom or top inhibitor turrets, they have many options here. They can push mid, they can split push with somebody on the sides. They are going to want Jace in their main siege, but they can split push here very easily because you don't have to deal with the turret.
Well, you have Solo King too. Once his teleport comes back up off the cooldown, it will be a little longer since he did come in on a ward. He can get involved in this really easily. Now, Rux still has the teleport, so if they split off for the time being, it's going to not be the easiest thing to do. But Dragon is 18 seconds away. This should be a no-brainer right now for Zenith. I don't think Prototype and anyone else on Final 5 are really interested in contesting this. You see Shorter Race already backing. I think what Zenith wants to do here is make sure they can secure the next Baron to end this game.
Yeah, they're setting up for that Dragon. Final 5 have not showed up to any of these Dragons in this game, and it's really concerning considering their team composition. They're allowing themselves to get poked off of them. They're not having the vision control of that area early enough.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. You need to be able to contest things, and they haven't been confident in just a straight all things equal 5v5. They've been able to defend their base. When their back's against the wall, they're definitely performing, but you can't win the game from inside your base.
That's true. I mean,
maybe if you let the minions kind of do all the work, you could, you could hope for the best. But it
there
seems
are some
a little
scenarios. Somebody could forfeit too.
That's true. That's true. That's next level strats right there.
At the same time, though, it's about a 10,000 gold lead, or approaching it here for Zenith eSports, and they've just been slowly getting this over time. But once you reach 6 items, which people are getting to that point, you're not going to get any stronger than that. and you have to fight. You have to take it to them before that, because you basically hit a ceiling, you buy some potions, and then the enemy team is like, okay, now we're actually catching up to you despite the gold difference. It's a really big thing here. So if this next Baron ends up going to Final 5, and also fighting in the Baron pit is something you don't want to do as this team composition of Zenith.
Yeah, I mean, that Orianna Shockwave, it almost can't miss once you're inside that pit, and that is the issue. So we'll see if they end up dancing for this one, but again, Final 5 has been so reluctant to take things, and instead of trying to close that gap, it's actually gotten a little wider. We're at a 10,000 gold deficit. You would think that's like almost a shoe-in for Zenith, but you know, there's definitely still the chance here for Final 5 because they have been a little bit more proactive going forward. They're going to take a little bit more control of their jungle back. The resistance is coming into play, but see if they have enough in the tanks. Easy going to try and annoy Rux, but he gets the big Wraith anyways.
Just trying to get the ward control, the vision control for themselves on Zenith eSports side. This Baron means a lot here. There is a minion wave down bottom that's going to start pushing into that inhib. They have to go send somebody to clear it, so they're going to send Rux. He has the TP available, but just ward fights at this point in the game. They're trying to test each other.
Oh, they're going to two-man this Baron. Yeah, this is...
Jace's damage.
This is really, really gutsy, but it's working out. Rule 18 has no idea. He's the only one in the area.
He has some idea.
He's going to go, but yeah, he gets the vision on it, but it's a little bit too late. The kick's already out. Mimo says, goodbye, see you later.
Shorter.
Oh, he gets it, but nearly shorter ace comes in and says, okay, nope, out of there. He's going to flash back over the wall 1 second earlier, and he could have gotten it.
And that Jinx rocket was really close to taking it as well. Prototype throwing that out. The vision from Rule 18, almost sacrificing himself there.
Yeah, I mean, that was, again, it was just an inch from being worth. They could have pulled that one off, but they realized just a little bit too late. So now Zenith has the Baron in their pockets. They have the impetus to go forward on this one. And again, they keep growing this gold lead.
Yeah, Mimo and Easy have just been synergizing so well this game to keep pressure on shorter ace. And you can see that duo coming up big there again. Man, it just blows my mind how much synergy this mid laner has with his jungle at this level of play. Because they definitely seem completely in sync with one another. As they go into the jungle, they keep down the shot caller of Final 5. They make their own calls. Mimo, he does not let up.
No, not at all. Every single chance he gets, he is proactive in making things happen. But I'm in awe how much damage Easy is able to do on this Jace. 3-0, has this almost full build in his pocket, and it's just insane. You take one shock blast and goodbye health bar.
Yeah, and a big thing about this too that I want to touch on is they set up for this from champion select because they banned out the Rengar and first picked the Lee Sin for themselves, forcing shorter ace onto a champion like J4 or Kha'Zix that he would have fallen back on. So they knew that this was coming out for them. And I love that fact that they set themselves up for that from champ select. They dictated that and said, this is how it will play out in the game. And it's doing just that for them. When a team comes into champion select and is like, all right, we'll try something. And then they get to the game and they're like, okay, it's not as good as we thought. These guys definitely have their stuff down with this composition and this like synergy between them.
Yeah, and here we go. They're starting to march up towards this inhibitor. They know they can get in here pretty soon. Don't have the largest minion wave behind it, but they do have that 5-man team. They're just careful and cautious not to check in until they know their enemies are already in a weakened state. And you have Frost. He's continuing to split this down the side, able to clear those waves so effectively. Shorter ace coming to the party, but they're still pushing up the top side. Mimo's here for the defense. That tower's already at half health. The inhibitor's going to get fired down, or pretty close to it, as Final 5, again, scrambling inside their own base to come back into this one. Zenith is really running this game at this point, and it's nothing on Final 5, but the fact that they gave up so many crucial buffs and advantages all around the map.
Yeah, and Sivir is a champion that can split push really easily. But look at that.
They're going to chase. They got Solo King. They might be able to take him down, but will they be able to answer back? There's the wave. There's the monsoon. Solo King still in here. They send shorter ace in. They are going to get the double bubble, and that is going to be a turret picked off in the mid side. Frost able to get that one, and Mimo doubling up. They almost get this inhibitor, but again, they're just stalling them away. They're poking them down to death, and this is exactly what Easy and the rest of Zenith love to do. Inhibitors down. That's going to be one pickup. They can easily take the top side. This game is close to ending right here. Zenith looking for the lead.
And look at that, the TP coming out. Throwing out the chompers. Not quite. But this inhibitor, they got the middle one.
They don't want to check. There's the shockwave. There's always the game-changing shockwave possibility, and they don't want to take that. But the poke is unreal. Every single time they get in there, they're able to return more damage than they get. That inhibitor still regenerating very slowly, half its health still about there, and Prototype trying everything it can desperately to clear these waves. Frost taking some damage, but they have so much sustain. K1, they're on this full build. This game, it's looking like it's just slowly eating away at Final 5, and they're doing everything they can to stop that.
You can just look at the items that Rule 18 has for himself. He has almost nothing in comparison to K1, and that just shows how much global gold has fallen into the hands of Zenith here. Also, he went for the Ruby Sightstone. None of these extra things, but look at this, just the poke. Zenith trying to go for poke. Final 5, they want the team fight. You know, there's still a chance, but they have this super minion wave coming in the mid.
Oh,
it looks like it might be now or never.
Oh, they might go for it, but they're going to back off. The rocket comes in, actually. It's not going to be enough to really take much more than a chunk out of Solo King's armor. He is pretty low. Ben caught a lot of these times, but they've been using him as this massive AP tank. And here we go. They're looking to fire down this one again. Gate, half his health, Rule 18, trying to send out the Howling Gales when he can. Mimo actually takes some poke. They're going to go for the fight. They catch Mimo. They jump on him. The wave's out. It's easy, though. Going to return the damage. Back on a shorter race. Rux is going to go down here. Almost, he's still running away from this one. Prototype, it's a double kill going over to Easy. They find even more for that, and that's going to be Solo King picking off that turret. The final one's going to fall. The Nexus will surely be there, and this game number 1 is going to Zenith eSports.
And Zenith playing perfectly to their win conditions. Final 5, they got a 5v5 team fight at the end, but they didn't have Orianna Shockwave available, and just a lot of things happened way before that fight. That was a fight you needed to take at like 17 minutes, or that second dragon. Was really, really just disorganized play there, and a lot of that was the pressure that they put on shorter Ace. So I think the combination of Mimo and Easy, top tier right there in this match.
Absolutely, and you're right. Final 5 needed to take that fight, but they needed it about 20 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
And as a result, they just weren't able to do a whole lot, and they got edged out. Gold game, everything. You mentioned the fact that the support player in Final 5 had absolutely nothing in his pocket. He had hardly any gold. The global, they gave up so many dragons, they gave up that one Baron, barely were able to check it in time. Just a massive effort, and Zenith rightfully takes that game number 1.
Yeah, and it is a best of 3, so you know there are going to be more games coming up here. But when they swap sides, shorter Ace, he might get a jungler that he's more comfortable on. There might be more top laners available because there were 3 top lane bans thrown that last game. So I want to keep an eye on those matchups because the top lane might get a little more sticky, and also that jungle, shorter Ace might get something he's maybe a little bit more comfortable on. But I think Mimo, regardless, is still going to try to take pressure on him.
Yeah, it definitely shows that Zenith has a lot of tricks up their sleeves. You know, Solo King was typically that guy that would go and try to 1v1 you all day. This time, he played much more reserved, but he played for his team. He almost let himself get caught to try to bait those fights when they knew that Final 5 were really, really low.
He let himself get caught.
Exactly,
Okay.
And he still survived half the time. The Zhonya's Hourglass, that's a useful item, you know.
Yeah, it's very useful. He's like, I'm going to get caught. I'm going to Zonya's Hourglass. I'm going to Rylai's Crystal Scepter. You know, that's great.
Slow
He's
you down.
as durable as he can be during those fights, and he'll heal himself while he's Zonya's too. So.
Exactly. So I'm a really, really good play all around from Zenith, and we'll see if they can do it again. But again, you mentioned red side this time. Do Final 5 prioritize that jungle pickup?
I would think so, because you saw Zenith prioritize the jungle pickup there to shut down shorter Ace, and definitely showed in the pressure on the map. So I think that's what's going to end up happening here.
All right. Should be a pretty solid strategy from them. You know, again, we saw some interesting AD carry picks. Nothing really against on the side of Final 5. I think that taking the exhaust prototype didn't really... It didn't hurt him as much. The heal might have helped him get away from situations, but when you're playing a champion like Jinx, you're kind of all or nothing anyways. And you could see that had he been just a little bit better on the timing, or had he like realized when collapses were going to happen, that might have been a very different story in the bot lane.
Yeah, that exhaust, he used it about once or twice, overextended in that bot lane. And that was the fight that really just let Zenith run away with the game when they got, I think, 3 kills from none.
Well, yeah, and then they just pretty much kept on pushing things up. But again, they never wanted to take a straight fight at all. They didn't need to. Easy was firing down people from afar, and that's something that you have to watch for if you're Final 5 in this next game. Do you think that merits a Jace ban even?
I think it might, but the fact that they're going to be on that blue side, they're going to have more things to ban out and kind of leave the top lane bans to the enemy side.
Well, we'll have to see in just a moment when we do get into champion selection for game number 2. I wonder if it'll be a closeout there. I know Zenith looked pretty strong, but Final 5, they're a team that's done a lot of homework. I think they can instantly learn from this one and maybe get their nerves a little bit calmed down. Rux probably talking to them all.